So I've got a wedding book tomorrow and I haven't even started packing yet, so I definitely better get started. So I thought I'd take you along the way to show you guys what I bring to absolutely every single wedding as a wedding photographer, down to the very small details. And I'm going to start right now. So as a wedding photographer, I really want to bring as much as I can with as little bag space as I can. Because what I don't want to be doing is walking from the venue to the car, from the venue to the car, constantly all day. Especially if I've left a bag in the car, it could get stolen. So I like bringing everything with me. Now, because of that, I'm able to kind of sort my stuff out into two main bags. So my first bag isn't technically a bag, it's a hard case, and it is this. So it's my Pelican case 1535 Air. Now this is a really nice size Pelican case. It's pretty big, so it fits most of the valuables that I've got. Now there's a few reasons I like it. The main two reasons is firstly, it's lockable, so I can put two padlocks on the front, and it's also trackable as well. So I've actually hidden a little air tag underneath the foam. Now I like this for mainly two reasons. Firstly, it's a bit of protection, so I can put all my valuables basically in one place and then lock it, slide it under a table and then basically forget about it for the rest of the day. But it's also trackable as well. So if I'm ever like, oh no, what room did I leave my bag in? I can have a look at my phone. I've also got an iPhone, check my air tag and be, it's over here. So for those reasons, I love a hard case and highly recommend one for you if you're a wedding photographer. And my other bag is more of a light stand bag, really, but basically it holds all of my lighting accessories and everything that doesn't fit into my other bag. Now, I'm not sure on the name of it, but it's this. So it's an Interfit, but I'm just gonna call it like an Interfit light stand bag. It's not much money. It actually came with the lights that I'm using, but because these lights never move from my studio, it's a perfect bag because it's basically the full length of the light stand. But it's also got other compartments as well that originally was designed for big studio lights, like the light I'm using at the moment. But because I don't use it for that purpose, it's really nice. I can put basically everything in it, like filters, accessories, and things like that. So for weddings, these are the two bags that I bring. I do sometimes bring other bags, but they're mostly filled with food and water. So I'm not really recounting them in this video. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill my Pelican case first, and let's start off with cameras. So as a wedding photographer, I like shooting on two cameras, and actually we've got a dual harness, which we'll talk about in a bit. Now the two cameras that I've chosen are both Canon EOS R5s. Now if you follow my channel for any length of time, you'll know that I've been wanting to upgrade to two R5s for ages. Originally, last year, 2022, I had two Canon EOS R cameras, which were really nice, absolutely loved them. But recently I brought an R5. Then I love the R5, but I wanted to buy another one, but they were horrendously expensive. So what I was able to do is get one of these secondhand, and that's why I've now luckily got two of them. I've chipped in my two Canon Rs for one Canon EOS R5, and now I've got two of them. So these are the two bodies of choice. Now they're great for photography and video. As I'm a hybrid shooter, that's what I really like about them. But I've also placed a hard cage around it as well. So it's a small rig cage. Now the reason I like this is firstly for protection for photography. So if I bump into anything, the actual camera is going to be secure and safe. But another reason is that I like rigging them up as well for video, but that'll be for my other channel. So let's go ahead and pack these first. Cool, right, so those cameras are packed. Let's go ahead and move on to lenses. So the first lens I bring is the Sigma 24mm f1.4 Art. Great lens for kind of establishing shots, group shots and things like that. Slightly wider than the standard 35mm that I like using, but it's good for smaller venues when you've got a slightly tighter space, or if you're just doing larger groups. 24mm is great for weddings. Next up is this. This is the Sigma 35mm f1.4 Art. Now this is a real workhorse of a lens. I've owned it for the longest time. About 2019 is I think when I first picked it up, and I fell in love with it as soon as I started using it. It is my main workhorse. I shoot on a two camera setup like I was saying, and this pretty much sits on one camera for pretty much all of the day. I love the aperture. F1.4 is great for creating a shallow depth of field, but also for environmental portraits, for the ceremony, for the speeches. Absolute perfect lens, I think. So yeah, let's go ahead and pop that in the bag. Okay, so next up, my two little lenses. I've got my Canon RF 50mm f1.8, as well as the Canon RF 16mm f2.8. Now the 16mm specifically just for establishers. So if I'm showing off a grand venue, 16mm is great for that. Do not use it for people. Way too much barrel distortion. Makes their heads look like they're tiny little shapes. Makes people look really long and tall. Not a great look for weddings. And the other lens is a 50mm f1.8. Again, love this lens. Usually when I'm trying to be a little bit more discreet, I do sometimes put some weddings in London and I don't want to look like I'm carrying around a ton of equipment. So this is good if you're trying to be more discreet, I think. Really small, really light, doesn't show off, but it's a really nice focal length. 50mm is great for weddings. So let's go ahead and pop these in my camera bag. Okay, next up is this. Now, this is my other workhorse, really, and it's the Canon EF 85mm f1.4 IS. Now, this really complements the 35mm, I think. A 35mm and an 85mm on two camera bodies for a wedding, I think, is the perfect setup. Now, obviously, completely personal opinion. I know some people like shooting on a 24mm and a 50mm, but me personally, 35 and 85 is the setup I want. And that is why this, I think, complements the 35mm really nicely. Now, the reason I didn't go for the Sigma, far too big and far too heavy. If you're interested in a comparison, I've actually made a video on the difference between the Canon versus the Sigma. I really like the Sigma because of image stabilization, but to be honest with you, I think it's a really good lens. So let's go ahead, pop that in the camera bag. Next up is this. Now this is the Canon Macro 100mm f2.8. Now this isn't, I don't use this all the time. In fact, I don't use it at most weddings. The only time I really use it is when I'm focusing on the finer details, when I need that macro shot. Now sometimes the wedding ring is beautiful or the engagement ring is beautiful and I want to show that off by being quite creative. Maybe drop it in a champagne glass or maybe drop some water on it. That is when I want to use this lens really over the others. Because of its very slow focus versus the 85mm, it rarely gets any use, but it's always in my camera bag just in case. Okay, so next up is a brand new lens for me, and so far I haven't used it at a wedding, and it is this. This is the Canon RF 70-200mm f2.8. Now, if you followed my channel very recently, you'll know I've made What's in My Camera Bag 2023, and I had the Canon EF 70-200mm f2.8 Mark II. But that was getting a little bit old. It was starting to squeak a little bit. It wasn't fitting on the camera quite right. I went to go take it in and the price was quite high to get it fixed. So what I did is I chipped it in and I decided to get a brand new Canon RF lens and I love it. The photos that I've taken so far, I'm really, really happy with, but never used at a wedding. So this will be its very first time. So super excited. Let's go ahead, put it in the camera bag. Okay, so next up, again, is another brand new lens, and it is this, the Canon RF 24-70mm f2.8. Now, if you know me or followed me at all ever, you know I don't particularly like zoom lenses, and what I've done is I've just gone ahead and spent like $5 on two, I know. But the reason I did it is because when I actually used it, I was blown away by the actual quality of it. Now, I've recently used the 28-70mm, and I've actually got a review on my channel, and that was amazing. The main problem with it is it's expensive. Very, very expensive. Where this, secondhand, is a little bit more reasonably priced. Grant you, it's still expensive, but I was able to get it for just under £2,000, which I think is a really good deal. So, yeah, this is hopefully going to be my new workhorse. We'll see if I end up liking zoom lenses, but I'm going to try it out and see if it works. So let's go ahead and pop that in my bag. Okay, so that's basically all the cameras and all the lenses, but that's not just what goes in this camera bag. The other thing I need to bring, and I definitely need to bring it so I can actually use those lenses, are these. These are Canon EF to RF adapters. Now, yes, I've got a bunch of new fancy RF glass, which I haven't used yet, but I do own a 35mm, an 85mm. All of those are EF lenses, which is why I need to adapt them to my mirrorless camera. And you have to adapt them some way, and that's why I brought the Canon ones. They're genuinely amazing. No problems with autofocus, no problems with speed, even with the Sigma lenses. They are tip-top. Love it that Canon created these. You know, Nikon have got the kind of equivalent ones, but they're just not as good and they're not adaptable to every single lens, where these ones could not fault them at all. And if you're, you know, wanting to save a little bit of money and, you know, have more bang for your buck, as it were, these are great with some EF glass. So yeah, I've got two of them for two cameras, for my 35mm and my 85mm, but yeah, really recommend them. So let's pop them in the bag. Okay, almost done. Let's go ahead and pack filters. So I bring 2 filters with me on a wedding day. I bring a circular polarizer filter and an ND filter. Now the reason I bring an ND filter for weddings, specifically for photography, are long exposures. If they've got a waterfall or a fountain, I can do long exposures in the daytime with the couple, be quite creative. But I also bring a circular polarizer filter if, let's say, we ever go to a wedding and the couple's got a lovely car and they want to show it off. I've recently been to one where they've got a Rolls Royce and they had a lot of glare. So I was able to use a circular polarizer to cut through that glass so I can see the couple inside the car. I also went to the one where I had a brand new Supra and we want to do some like long exposure shots. So I actually use these two together, which is nice. Now these are both 82mm filter threads. So it means they only fit on some lenses. That's why I brought these. Now these are basically step-up rings and they step up to a certain size. I've chosen 82mm as my standard size, as most standard size lenses are that size. And if I ever need anything smaller, I've basically got a ring. This is a 67 to 82mm. I've also got in here as well a 72mm to 82mm one, and then lastly a 77 to 82mm. So basically I own one set of really nice filters that will fit pretty much every single lens I own. So yeah, highly recommend this. You know, some filters can set you back like 200 quid, or at least mine did. And these are about 8 quid. So massive saving there while you're still getting great quality glass. So let's go ahead and pack that. Okay, so almost done. The last thing we need to bring are SD cards, and that's why I recommend getting one of these. This is a little hard case specifically for SD cards. It can fit 12, but I only ever use it for 6. And the reason is I can basically put in the yellow section, I can put my unused, so formatted cards. Then once I've used them, I place them over on the right-hand side, and it's basically my used cards, just so then I don't end up basically picking up the wrong card. My cards are also named as well, 1 to 6, so I know which, if I ever have a corruption issue, I know which specific one is broken, and I go ahead and replace that specific number. But yeah, recommend a little hard case, a good place to keep all of your basically SD cards safe on the day, as well as you can then number them and make sure you're working on what card you're working on accordingly. Now I like using 64 gig cards. That's a good size. So what it basically means is I can replace them as the day goes on. So if I ever do have a corrupt problem, what I can do is, you know, I've only lost a part of the day instead of the whole day on a larger card. So yeah, I recommend shooting as many cards as possible throughout the day, and then also shoot redundant if that's possible as well. So let's go ahead and put this little hard case in my hard case. Lovely, so that is that basically packed. So let's go ahead and work on the Interfit bag next. Now, like I was saying, the reason I like this bag is because it is long. And the reason it's long is because I can bring these. Now, this is a light stand. Now, when you're doing weddings, some of them times they're in the dark, or sometimes they're in the evening and you haven't got great lighting. So what you want to do is bring a set of flashes. Now, I use flash guns, which means they can fit on my camera as well as off my camera. And if you're off your camera, you need somewhere to put them, which is why I brought 2 light stands. Now, these are just fairly cheap, inexpensive Interfit light stands. They're air cushioned ones. I did go for the air cushioned ones, which basically means when they drop down, they have a little air cushion in them, so don't immediately drop and then smash all your lovely expensive flashes. So yeah, recommend air cushioned ones. But yeah, these ones I believe are 10 foot or 15 foot. I'm not actually too sure. I think they're 10 foot ones. 15 would be really tall. But yeah, 2 of these easily fit in this long case. And next up are the actual flash guns themselves. Now I've got for Profoto A1Xs, really nice flash guns. They come in this lovely kind of, it's not a hard case, but it's got like a hard texture to it. It's like fabric. And then I've got my actual light inside. I bring the batteries separately. The batteries are in the case at the moment. We'll talk about batteries in a second because I do actually have a case that holds all of my batteries. But yeah, really, really nice. Grant you, they're hella expensive. I spent probably about 1,200 quid on 2 of them, but they are really good lights, really powerful for their size. They've got a real nice kind of function display, and they just seamlessly work with the trigger. So yeah, if you do have a little bit of money and you want to spend some money on nice flashes, yeah, highly recommend Profoto. So let me go ahead and pop these in the bag. And to bring with them, you need to have accessories. Now, inside my little Profoto accessories case, I've basically got some spare batteries in there, as well as the trigger, which is obviously really important. So this sits on, when I'm not using it on camera, obviously, this sits on my camera and it triggers to both Pro Photos. So sometimes I have 3 with me occasionally, but most of the time I only have 2, and they sit maybe side or at the back of the venue, some of the shots you can see here, and that's all shot using this trigger. Now it takes AAA batteries, which is why I've got a few in here, as well as Pro Photo has obviously got Pro Photo Connect. If you're not used to Pro Photo, basically it's this magnetic connectors that they do, and I've got some magnetic filters here. I've got a bunch, obviously, if I've got 2 flashes, I need duplicates of everything. So I own some honeycomb grids. I've got 2 of those. I've got some CTOs. Now this means color temperature orange. I'm not sure if you can see it. I'll pop that up. You can see everything is orange, which is quite cool. Now this is half CTO, so it means it's half color temperature orange. And then I've got full color temperature orange, which is this one. And you can see it is a lot more orange. So when you shoot, basically the flash has a color to it. Now you can get other colors, other gels. They do like purple, green, all sorts, but I don't really like them, to be honest with you. I use them for some shots, but most of the time I'm using either a half CTO or a full CTO. So yeah, they're all magnetic, which is really nice. So they can magnetic into this little kind of, looks like a little tin, but it isn't. And that just simply pops in the bag. Pops in this bag, so I basically keep everything in bags, which is nice. And then, yeah, little Pro Photo. So let's go ahead and pop that in there. Now, if you notice, when I put everything in my hard case, I didn't actually put any of the lens hoods in there. Now, the reason for that, annoyingly, when I brought the hard case, I thought it was a little bit bigger than it was. And when I actually started constructive stuff, I constructed everything all nice and neat, but I did leave the lens hoods out by accident. Now, none of my lenses will fit in the hard case with lens hoods, which means I end up with a bunch of lens hoods just floating around. Now, I do like using lens hoods, again, more for protection purposes. So if anyone bumps into me, my lenses are protected, even though I do use UV filters as well. But yeah, all I do is I just end up chucking them in the bag, and then just, if I ever want to use them, I know they're in the bag. So let me go do that. Bit of a mess, I know, but I'm not sure what else to do with it. If I do ever do a hard case, I'll make sure they actually fit in with the bags. Otherwise, they just end up in places. So I've even lost them at certain venues. I had to buy them again. But yeah, no, so that is that. The last thing I need to bring is this. Now, this is a dual camera harness, and it's a hold fast one. Now, because like I was saying, I use 2 cameras instead of just 1 nowadays, I actually need a harness that can hold 2. And I had a few. I bought one from, what was it, Peak Design, and it was all right, but it just wasn't comfortable enough. And I did a little bit of researching, and a friend, Drew Webb from Drew Webb Photography, he recommended me to get one of these, and this is a dual harness. Now, it's really nice, made of lovely leather. It's all metal, a little bit expensive, I've got to admit. I spent a little bit too much than I wanted to, but it is a really, really nice setup. It also looks really good. So you're walking around hella fire with the kind of the look. Got a nice white t-shirt, all nicely ironed. Chuck one of these on there, I look proper professional, I think. So yeah, if you're interested in wanting to get a nice dual camera harness, they do a leather version as well. So if you're vegan, they do one as well. Yeah, highly recommend it. But yeah, that just basically, because it's, the only annoying thing is because all of the metal parts, it can easily damage stuff. So I always leave it in its little pouch, just because what I don't want to do is walk around, smash into something with its metal clips and end up like scratching stuff, or especially if I'm bringing it in and out of my car, I don't want to scratch my car. So yeah, I always leave it in its little kind of fabric pouch. It's also easily recognizable as well. So yeah, let me pop that in there. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I bring, but some weddings I bring specific things to be a little bit more creative. So let's go ahead and chuck them in the bag as well. So the first thing are fractal filters. Now, I brought these last year and I love them. They're basically fancy filters, majorly heavy actually, quite like full glass filter that you basically hold in front of the lens. So let me try that, show you. It makes you go absolutely crazy. Now you want it on center point autofocus, so it, you know, you can focus on the subject, and then basically put this around them. Now I own 3 of them. They're all different shapes. This one looks like a Pac-Man, so when you hold it up, you've got this kind of cool, kind of fractal effect really. And then the last one, I don't really use, to be honest with you, but it's this kind of dense brick looking one, which is quite nice, like a prism effect. Again, you can pop that up, kind of create these cool kind of filters on it. I think they look quite good. I don't use them for every single wedding, because some venues, you know, you've got to kind of see what the lay of the land is at the wedding. If they want to be a little bit more creative, the couple, then you can chuck these in there. But otherwise, they usually just stay in my bag. But I usually like bringing them. It sits on my, or it used to before it broke, it sits on my belt. But now all it does, it just sits in my bag. But yeah, really nice. Fractal filters, not much money. About 90 quid. I'm going to be making a video very soon on them. But yeah, I really like them for adding a little bit more creative flair. I think they're really nice. And the last thing, and I usually have a hard case, but for the life of me, I can't seem to find where it is, to put these. Now, these are smoke grenades. Now, all you need to do to set them off, obviously, they're all coloured. They come in different sizes as well. These are the micro smokes for little smokes. Last about 25 seconds. I'm not going to do it now, obviously. But what you do is you've got the little pin here, and you basically pull it, and then smoke comes out, and it's a coloured smoke. Now, I always hold it, then light it, and then give it to the couple, because sometimes they pull it, and what will do, sparks will fly out and then end up like burning themselves. Not that it's ever happened to me, I just don't want it to happen, so it's never happened. But I always give them to it. But yeah, pull it, smoke comes out, quite cool. Good for video and photography. You can be quite creative with it if you get like everyone behind, like this shot here, got the bride and groom in front, and then basically we've coloured all of the smoke grenades for the kind of bridesmaids to hold behind. You can create quite cool shots, and then you can obviously create a sequence. It's a really nice, especially if they haven't used confetti, this is quite a nice alternative. Again, can't use it inside, and it doesn't work great on windy days, but you can go for multiple colours. So I've got orange, I've got another purple one here, I've got 2 purple ones. Probably should have brought some other colours. But yeah, no, really nice, really small. You can get different sizes. So I usually just chuck them in my bag. I usually put them in a hard case just so, you know, it doesn't by accidentally go off. Again, I'm just a little bit like, what happens if it goes off? But yeah, I'm just going to carefully pop them in my bag. And the last thing, and probably the most important thing you need to bring, are some batteries. Now this is just a little battery holder. Holds up to 4 batteries. Now, obviously, I shoot Canon, so I have a Canon EOS R5, which means it takes the LP-E6NH battery, and this will hold 4 of them. So I basically have 2 batteries for each camera throughout the day, which is usually enough for photography. If I'm ever doing video, I usually bring a little bit more. I've got 8 in total, but usually I bring 4 per camera, or should I say 2 per camera per wedding, which is really nice. So basically, pop them in there. You can even put it around on your belt. Basically, it's a little DSLR battery holder, which is quite nice. So yeah, usually have one of these and I just simply chuck it in my bag like so. And pretty much, apart from some water, or in this case, Lucozade Sport, which usually sits with me in my car, but let's just pop that in there for the moment. That's pretty much all I bring for a wedding. 2 cameras, basically a bunch of lenses, a bunch of accessories, and that's pretty much it. Now, sometimes I bring my drone, which is the additional bag I was talking about previously, but to be honest with you, I don't bring it to absolutely every single wedding. And realistically, the bag I've got in front of me, which is this one, which I've now packed, which is really heavy, my Pelican case, pop that down. This case here are pretty much the only 2 cases or bags I actually bring with me. Everything else is more of an optional extra that I sometimes bring. Because I'm going to a wedding that doesn't allow drones, not bringing it tomorrow. So yeah, apart from that, that is what's in my camera bag for weddings. Brilliant, and there we go, guys. So that is what's in my camera bag for weddings in 2023. And obviously, it updates all of the time, so I'll probably make a video maybe in 6 months or 12 months time, just giving you the kind of lowdown of what's changed, what I've updated, what I've removed, what I've added. I've already brought 2 lenses this year to basically replace some older lenses, so I'm really excited to try that out tomorrow to see what shots. But yeah, make sure if you're interested to see any of the photos, make sure to go to my Instagram page. I'll be posting those very soon, as I've only got the wedding tomorrow, so maybe in a week's time I'll post some. So if you are interested in see what the overall shots look like for the wedding I've got tomorrow at Ashridge House, beautiful estate, super looking forward to that. So yeah, if you're interested, make sure to go ahead to my Instagram. I've been James for Photo Fever, and I'll catch you guys next time.